Okay, so now that we have a reasonably good grounding in the inference forms and in that hop and dock relationship, I would like us to engage in three sort of increasingly difficult tasks that model the sorts of tasks that you might be facing when you are constructing an argument or communicating an argument. In the first one, passage 8, I'm imagining that we have a conclusion we want to establish. In this case, lying is unethical, and a reason for that conclusion. Lying is a violation of the moral law. We want to add a missing premise or a hidden assumption that will make the inference valid because it's our argument. We want the inference to be as strong as we possibly can be. So what I want you to do is look at these four candidates for that missing premise and ask yourself if each of them would make that inference valid or not. Got it? So imagine A, if lying is unethical, then it's a violation of the moral law. Imagine that claim right here. Okay, so imagine that right there and ask, would the inference be valid then? And then once you've decided that, ask that for B, C, and D as well. Some of them might work, all of them might work, only one might work, exactly two might work, exactly three might work. So as soon as you find one that works, don't stop. Take a look at the rest of them, okay? So pause the video, do that, and then check back when you're ready. Okay, so what do you have? Let's try this. I'm just going to uncheck that right now. And I will uncheck this too. And I'm going to actually just make this yellow. So imagine this. If lying is unethical, then it's a violation of the moral law. Imagine that up here. Would that make the inference valid? Well, let's check. We'll start with the if-then, as always, and that will tell us what the front part is and what the back part is. And then we will compare that to the reason, the other reason, right? So if lying is unethical, then it's a violation of the moral law. Lying is a violation of the moral law, so lying is unethical. So what inference form would that be? Well, we have if front, then back. What is this? This other reason. Is that more like the front, more like the back? Is it the opposite of the front? Is it the opposite of the back? Well, it looks like it's exactly the back, right? And the conclusion is exactly the front. So if we put A in here, what we would have is the form if front then back, back, therefore front. Does that work? Well, you might remember at this point, no, it doesn't. That's the fallacy of assuming the consequent. But if you don't remember, you can always poodle dog it. Would it work with poodle and dog? If Max is a poodle, then Max is a dog, front, back. Max is a dog, back. So Max is a poodle, front. Can we reason like that? No, because there are lots of other ways to be a dog than a poodle. So A does not work. I will make that one no color and I will cross it out. Not that one. Take a look at B. In fact, I'm going to give you a little more time, just in case now you kind of understand what we were doing. So take a look at B, do the same thing. Imagine B, where the question marks are, and ask if that inference is going to be valid or not. Pause the video, decide, and then start again. Okay, so let's try this. If lying isn't unethical, then it isn't a violation of the moral law. That's what we're imagining up here now. Lying is a violation of the moral law. So how does that relate to the fronts and the backs here? Well, the back is, it isn't a violation of the moral law. The other reason is it is a violation of the moral law. So it's the opposite of the back. That should make you feel maybe a little optimistic. What are we concluding? We are concluding the opposite of the front. Lying is unethical. The front of this conditional is it isn't unethical. So that would work, right? This would be if front, then back, opposite of the back, therefore opposite of the front. Excellent. So I will uncheck this, and I'm going to leave that. In fact, I think I will bold it to say, yes, that works. Now, take a look at C. What did you decide about C? If you want to take a little moment, pause, think, and then start again. Okay, so let's take a look. If lying isn't a violation of the moral law, then it isn't unethical. We are comparing that to lying is a violation of the moral law. How is lying is a violation of the moral law related to this? Is it the front? Is it the back? Is it the opposite of the front, or is it the opposite of the back? Looks like it's the opposite of the front, right? Is that a promising thing to add to a conditional? No, it is not. The front is, the opposite of the back is, but the opposite of the front will end in tears. Well, let's double check. I bet the conclusion is going to be the opposite of the back here. It isn't unethical. Sure enough. So if we put C in here, what we would have is the fallacy of negating the antecedent. Not that you have to know that. It's just nice to know that that name exists. So C does not work. We shall get rid of that, and we will exit out. Not you, Magoo. Okay. Take a look at D. Do the same thing. Now it might be feeling like, oh, okay, right? Imagine that up here. Decide if it's valid or not. Pause, think, and then start again. Okay, so what did you decide? If lying is a violation of the moral law, then it is unethical. Let's compare lying is a violation of the moral law to that. Is that going to be the front, the back, the opposite of the front, or the opposite of the back? Well, it looks like it's actually the front, right? It's exactly the front. And what are we concluding? Exactly the back. So this is if front, then back, front, therefore back. That works. It's modus ponens, if you care about that sort of thing. But what you really need to know is that it works. Good. So B and D both work. A and C don't. Now, I want us to play with these just a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the ones that don't work next to each other so they're easier to compare, and the ones that do work next to each other. Although that was kind of a stupid thing, right? Because I'm going to change the, I'm sorry, I didn't want to have to change the A, B, and C for that, because that could get confusing. Instead, just take a look at A and C if you can. And what I'll do instead is I will make B disappear. That way it'll be easier to take a look at. So remember, A and C are the ones that don't work. They don't work. See if you can see the relationship between them. Take a look at A and C. See if you can see the relationship between them. Pause the video, think for a while, and then start when you're done. Start the video when you're done. Do you see the relationship? The front part here is lying is unethical. The back part here is it isn't unethical. Ha and ah. The back part here is lying is a violation of the moral law. The front part here is lying isn't a violation of the moral law. Ha and ah. So these two things, A and C, are contrapositives. It's hop and ah. They mean the same thing. It's the same claim. So of course, if A doesn't work, neither will C, right? They mean the same thing. Now, let's take a look at one that works. B works, right? I'm going to get rid of these, just so you're not visually troubled by them. Now, I know that you can see D, if you look at your handout. Don't look at D right now. Figure out what the contrapositive is of B, what the hop and op is. Pause the video, think about that, and then start up again. Okay, so what is the contrapositive of B? It would be the back part, lying isn't a violation of the moral law, would now be the opposite of that would be the front. So if lying is a violation of the moral law, then, and the opposite of the back part, the opposite of the front part rather, would be the new back part. Lying is unethical. So let's see, let's make everything show up now. I'm betting that that's D. Lying isn't a violation of the moral law. Lying is a violation of the moral law. Lying isn't unethical. Lying is unethical. So yeah, of course, B and D both work because they are the same claim. It's just different ways of saying the same claim. A and C don't work because they are the same claim. It's just different ways of saying the same claim. Very good. So we're going to ramp this up a little bit with 9 next time. See you then.